Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for being here today with us, both in the room and online. I'm excited to share with you a new AI service for ingesting content with generative AI. I'm Vinod Kurpad. I lead the product team for Vision, Document, and now Content Understanding as well. And today, I'm going to have Marco Casalaina with me. He's the VP of Product for Azure AI. And we're going to be joined on stage today with Evan Kahan, who is the CPO or Chief Product Officer for Numonix, as well as Selena Cameron, who is the CEO of SJR, a subsidiary of WPP. And together, we're going to be walking you through some of the work that we've been doing as a team in Content Understanding, as well as the customer experience for using Content Understanding in the different scenarios that we see all of our customers working with. Right? So we've got a packed agenda for you today. We're going to be walking through what Content Understanding is, how you use it in the different scenarios that we see a lot of our customers using it in today. And then we're going to be also sharing with you all the resources that you need to make sense of your content and get the insights that you want out of the content that you would like to work with.
Azure AI Content Understanding accelerates processing content of various data types to effortlessly extract meaningful insights. Content Understanding can ingest text, audio, images, documents, and video data, enabling organizations to build advanced AI solutions seamlessly with the latest models available. With pre-built templates and a streamlined workflow, organizations can quickly tailor multimodal AI solutions to align with their use cases without needing specialized Gen AI skills. Businesses can deliver high-quality output while minimizing human reviews by applying grounding and confidence scores to automate their workflows. Unlock the full potential of your multimodal data with Azure AI Content Understanding. Learn more at aka.ms/content-understanding.
So what you just saw was a quick overview of how you could use Content Understanding. Right? It's a streamlined process or a streamlined workflow for extracting content as well as structured insights from your content. As you work through Content Understanding, you're going to see that you can build a task-specific schema to extract, or a structured schema to extract content and insights from your documents, images, audio, or video. And the reason that this is so interesting is if you take the example of a call recording, you could find that if you're trying to identify maybe your performance of your agents in a call center, you might need a completely different schema when you're trying to compare that to maybe trying to identify what products cause the most amount of returns or calls. And the types of information that you need to extract from each of these two different scenarios is going to be diametrically opposite. And so you now get to define the exact schema that you want from each of these call recordings. And Content Understanding does the rest for you, taking care of all the different variations, taking care of all the different challenges that you have with each of these different content types, and ensuring that you get a high-quality output from your content that you're ingesting. So you start by defining this task-specific schema. And we also recommend a few starter templates that you can use to get started. Right? In these starter templates, think of these as a good place to get started. But you can adapt them and edit them for the way you want to essentially tailor the extraction quality for what you're trying to do. So it's just a way for you to speed up your development process. But it just gets you bootstrapped and get started as you go through this journey of extracting content from your data. We're seeing, with all the flexibility that Content Understanding provides, we're already seeing a lot of our partners and customers starting to use Content Understanding in a variety of interesting ways. Right? So you're seeing call centers and call quality management from partners like ASC and Numonix. We're also seeing speech-to-text as well as speech-to-document scenarios with Philips Speech. And finally, we're seeing a lot of interest around getting a better understanding of your content in both video and images, content search, and things like that from partners like IPV as well as WPP. And to share with you a little bit more about how Numonix uses Content Understanding, I'd like to invite on stage Evan Kahan, the CTO of Numonix, to share with us a little bit more about how Numonix uses Content Understanding. Evan?
Thanks, thank you. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. My name is Evan. I'm with Numonix. We are a compliance recording company, and I'm going to spend a few minutes in the presentation today to talk through about what this means for a company like us that specializes in compliance capture of all kinds of different modalities, and how we've decided to use content understanding, in a few use cases, and where we plan to expand on it, over the next few months, years, et cetera, as it kind of grows out. So at Numonix, one of the core things that we kind of discuss with almost all of our customers is the security that comes around with AI. So I'm sure that a lot of you have had these discussions about how you use AI or how you might bring it into your organization. And really, the first question that comes up is security around AI, and most importantly, how do you make sure that the content that you're actually capturing and using with these Microsoft tools is actually allowed to be used? So for example, in a compliance recorder, Numonix will do things like have specialized rules, what meetings to record, what not to record, and make sure that the actual audio, the video, the screen share that we're actually capturing is allowed to be inputted into these solutions to make sure everything is still all well and compliant. And so we start at that kind of core capture piece and then build on it from that point of view. Now, one of the biggest features, especially in the compliance and call center spaces that we've been working with, it's been a thing 30, 40 years already, is quality management. And so I'll use this to kind of explain how content understanding helps us. And that is, if you look back at the beginning of call centers, it was a really manual process to evaluate the calls that were happening, right? And so you would do these cumbersome tasks of creating evaluation forms with multiple choice answers and scores, and then you would have to hire up a team that would literally sit there, listen to every individual call, rate that call, and get some insights out of how well your agents are doing, how well they're keeping with compliance, or whatever factors you'd be looking at. And the really big limitation about that is you're really only able to listen to a handful of calls. If you're a big call center, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 agents, there's no way, unless you have tens of thousands of more people to listen to every call, that you'll get full coverage in what you're actually going to be monitoring when it comes to quality. And so with content understanding, we're able to kind of take that call coverage of 1%, 2% of calls, and we're able to take that all the way to 100%. And how do we do that? With the content understanding, with the fact that you have the schema extraction, you can do things like even take an existing quality management template and use content understanding to build it into an automated solution, which content understanding comes back around again and lets you kind of analyze. So all of a sudden, every single one of those tens of thousands, millions of calls that are being recorded are getting analyzed, and all of a sudden you have full coverage. Now for us, if you take a company that had 20, 30 quality management supervisors, you can see how powerful that is. You can bring that resource all the way down, and you can essentially expand that coverage and get all of this kind of input back from your agents. And that's something that we've always been trying to do. And really, with the large language models that content understanding has under the hood, we're finally able to evaluate the calls, understand the context of what was happening on those calls. And in addition, a big step up is also looking at the video, right? Video has become a big part of call interactions these days. And you want to be able to not only understand what is being spoken on a call, but you also want to understand what an agent might have been doing on their screen at the time of that call, or how they were interfacing in a face-to-face call with someone else. And so this has really opened up that ability for Numonix to layer on this kind of industry-leading quality management, taking it all the way from back of 1% coverage all the way through. And the reason why we actually used content understanding and went through this is really because Microsoft has simplified what we as a development and engineering company need in order to offer these kinds of features to our customers. And the big thing is, for example, prompt engineering. It's kind of taken this all away. Our system prompts, our regular prompts, all of that is kind of moved away. You don't need a skill set in-house in order to use content understanding. And now your team, your engineers, your developers can actually go straight to, as you saw up top, a post-call analytics schema, and all of a sudden be on their way within a couple of clicks which is very different from how it even was 6 months ago when you were dealing with, models, machine learning, and the other components that you would need in order to bring a quality management, solution into play. The other things that I'd like to say in addition to quality management is, as you see on the screen, all these different other tools that we can actually leverage now out of content understanding. So whether it's getting meeting summaries, whether it's PII redactions, or if it's really going into compliance. A lot of things that we're dealing with now is, for example, an agent will take a trade on the phone. And we always used to monitor those calls, what an agent said, how they captured a trade. But now we can essentially give content understanding not only the audio and the video, and we can make sure that the agent not only heard and responded to a customer in the right way, but we're also able to say, well, did the agent actually put the correct order into whatever system they're using on their screen for that trade to go through? And so we've kind of broken the barrier of just being audio to being audio, video-based screen sharing, and documents, chat, whatever it might be in an interaction, bring that all together and allow for content understanding to really shine and make sure that the audio, the video that you have provides the most value that you could possibly get out of it, which really for a compliance recording company was something that we didn't have access to really pull out of if everything that we did in regards to capture was piecemeal, was a small piece of the full picture. And now with content understanding, we're really able to leverage all of these Microsoft tools in order to bring this full picture to our compliance and call recording customers. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Marco, who is going to give you a little bit of a demo, I believe, on how this all fits together.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, let's take a look at this thing in action. Now, the first thing I have to do, because this is going to be a live demo, I have to unlock my laptop. And I'm going to do that with Azure AI, because I use Windows Hello, which recognizes my face. And because of that, it's able to unlock. And the other thing, because this is a live demo, I do have to make sure that the sound is going to go out. OK, because I'm going to do audio content understanding here. Let's get to it. All right, here we have it. So this is what content understanding looks like in the Azure AI Foundry. And from this kind of front screen, you can go create a new content understanding project. And from there, you can get started. Now, in general, no matter what type of content you're feeding it, this is what it looks like. And so, and by the way, I did not introduce myself. I'm Marco Casalaina, VP Products of Azure AI. But I was so busy unlocking my laptop, I forgot about that. Anyway, all right. So the concept of content understanding is really that it pulls structure from unstructured data, from video, audio, images, and documents. And you tell it what structure you want it to pull. So now you give it the schema, and this schema helps it define the structure. So I'm going to add a new field here. Let's say now I'm going to do an auto insurance, kind of a contact center thing here. So type of insurance. I'm going to add a type of insurance here. Now there's two types of schema fields that you can do here. I'm going to let it just generate this one freeform, but there's also this classify. So here, this one is sentiment over here. And you see that this one will restrict what it outputs to only these three values. So I could have said, I could have picked types of insurance, but I wasn't going to stand here typing that in front of you. So anyway, you can either let it freeform generate some stuff, or you can have it classify from a predefined set. So let's go ahead and test this analyzer. So I'm going to click this button over here, and I'm going to run the analysis. And while we're waiting, let's play the call.
Hello, thank you for calling Contoso Auto Insurance. How can I help you today?
Hey, so I just got into a car accident and I need to buy some auto insurance.
I'm sorry to hear that about your accident. Do you currently have an existing policy with Contoso Auto Insurance?
No, that's why I'm trying to buy it, because I just got into this accident.
I understand, but unfortunately, we can't issue a new policy to cover an accident that's already occurred.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Your auto insurance. You're supposed to cover accidents.
All right, you get the idea. That is the most ridiculous contact center call ever made by me. But anyway, So here we go. Our analyzer has now come back. And so it built this little transcript. And you'll notice in this transcript, if we look closely, there is this diarization in here. So automatically, it's figured out from the two voices who's the agent and who is the customer. So you can kind of see that right there. And it's transcribed what I've said. But the purpose of this thing is to pull out this structure, which we find over on the right. And so it found this is a negative sentiment call, which is fair. You know, our caller is not too happy about the fact that you can't buy auto insurance after you get into an accident. It summarizes the call over here, and there's my type of insurance that I just added. It is indeed auto insurance. And so it's pulled this structure out. Now, the purpose of these things, I mean, you don't really use it like this. This is the Azure AI Foundry portal, and nobody's going to log into the Azure AI Foundry portal. What you really do with this is that you use the downstream JSON, which, as this is a live demo, for some reason it doesn't want to load. There it goes. So it's spitting this structured data out in a structured format, like so. And that is how you would consume this in whatever downstream automation that you might be using over here. So I did that on the contact center, kind of like what Evan was talking about there. We can also use this on documents. So here I have this document over here. This is an actual real document. This is a grant deed. And this is an unstructured grant deed. So you see this, for the most part, there is a paragraph in here that lists myself and my wife. This is a grant deed for a storage unit that I own in San Francisco. So, and I've blacked out some of the personally identifiable details. All right, now I'm going to process this document. Same concept applies over here. And so, once again, I can tell it what I want it to extract from here. So I'm going to add a new field. Let's say there's a transfer tax on this document somewhere. So I'm going to say there's a transfer tax because San Francisco charges you whenever you transfer any kind of property. So I'm going to make it extract the transfer tax also from this document. And there are these options to enrich what it does. Now, this particular document has a barcode. So I have the ability not just to return the details, but I can also extract things like barcodes from it, and I'm going to do that. Enable formula, by the way, if there are math formulas or chemical formulas, it'll extract that too. That's not this document for sure. So, but it does have a barcode, so we're going to use that, and I will define my schema. And once again, let's save that and test the analyzer, run the analysis. And the analysis, go ahead and run it. This analysis, it takes about 30 seconds usually, so rather than making you sit here and watch this spin for 30 seconds, I did run this in advance. And so, here we have it, Julia Child style. I pull it out of the oven, and here is the structure that it pulled out of here. So, and you'll notice, by the way, that it does refer directly to the document. So the buyer is myself and my wife, Karen Bird, which you can see in the document right here. The seller is Slats Investors 3. That really was the company that sold me this storage unit. Silly name. State is California, and the transfer tax is $60. And so it pulled all of this structure out of this otherwise unstructured document. This is not a form. This is not in any kind of a particular structure. A lot of the stuff is just in a paragraph. And the last thing I would note about this is this here. What is this little number over there? Well, that is another aspect of content understanding. It's a confidence score. And so it has, relative to the other things in here, it has relatively low confidence in its prediction about, not prediction, in its extraction of who the seller is. And in reality, maybe I would want the seller to say, just Slats Investors 3 LLC. I don't really need the California Limited Liability Company part. But here too, you know, this confidence score is emitted with the structured output. And again, you can use this in your downstream automation to make a determination as to whether you need to bring a human into the loop. So maybe if the confidence score is below a certain threshold, then you bring a human and you're like, hey, maybe you need to look at this document because we couldn't quite figure out what this one field said. And by the way, where did that barcode go? Well, the barcode doesn't show up as a structured field because it isn't really a structured field. But if I look in this JSON over here, if I just click in here and I do a find, you will find that there is actually a reference to the barcode in here. So it actually read the barcode, it sucked out whatever digits that barcode contains, and it will, again, spit that out in the output JSON, which you can use for your downstream automation. So that is how content understanding actually works. Now, so what did we just see? Well, okay, so you saw me do a bunch of content understanding right there. What did I not do? I did not write a bunch of prompts. These content understanding APIs say what they do, and they do what they say. Yeah, I mean, you can use general purpose models to read a document and those kinds of things. But to do it reliably, to extract structure from it, to do it in the schema that you're asking for, that's not so easy, actually. And that's what all of this automates. So this is a layer above the model that makes it work with automation. The results, as you saw, are grounded to the content. So like I said, when I was looking at the transfer tax, it didn't just tell me, here's the transfer tax. It said, here's where I got it on the document. We looked at those confidence scores that you can use for that automation and validation, and enrichment, like the barcodes and the formulas. It can do diarization and speech and all those kinds of things. It enriches the input content, and you can use that downstream in your automation. So if you consider, what is content understanding actually doing? What is it built out of? What did we have to do to make this thing work? Well, first of all, there's the extraction part. And so whether you're feeding a document or an image, audio, video, or text, it has to extract it. And the extractors for these things are all different. But of course, we automate that. You could just feed in whatever, and it'll kind of figure it out. It does this kind of normalization. It could be like a Xerox copy or an old school fax that's like all, in a weird angle. It'll figure that stuff out. So it'll do that for you. Or in documents, it could be multi-page document. What if you have a 300-page contract? It'll figure it out. What if there are tables that break across different pages? Again, very challenging to do with a general purpose model. Content understanding just does it. And then there is the field extraction. So once it's extracted the content, it's done the OCR on the document, it's done the transcript analysis on the audio, well, then it has to extract the schema itself. I specifically asked for the buyer, the seller, the transfer tax, and the state. And so it's not enough to just read that text to me. That's not what I want. I want these specific values because that's what drives my downstream automation. And so that's what's happening in field extraction, which is also where we calculate the confidence. And finally, from that, that's where we're able to output these kinds of structured insights. And this is being consumed in lots of different places. One of the most common ways that this can be used is with search. And so you can suck out this structured information and then pipe that into your search engine. Well, usually Azure AI search, or into something like Microsoft Syntex, so that you can search by these structured values. But there's lots of other ways that you can consume the output of content understanding. Last demo, though. There is a concrete application that uses content understanding. We just recently released it. Well, the actual application is called Seeing AI, and it uses AI for accessibility purposes. For people with visual impairments, it helps them experience the world. And we just added this new feature, which does video description. And so when you give it a video, it will describe what's going on in the video if you can't see what's happening on the screen. Now, I made one of these, and I recorded it, so let's check out how this thing works. Here we go. I just made it outside the room over here earlier with my colleague Udi, and Wooly was the guy who was filming it. Thank you for that. Check this out. So first we'll see the actual video, then we'll see what Seeing AI does with it.
Video, yesterday, 5 p.m. Processing. 2 men stand in front of an open doorway leading to a conference room with a Microsoft Ignite sign. 1 man is holding 2 orange balls.
Behind us. All right, let us know when you're ready.
The man in a suit begins to juggle the orange balls while the other man watches.
I'm filming.
Here we go.
The man in the suit continues juggling, and the other man prepares to catch one of the balls. Both men are now juggling, tossing the balls back and forth between each other. The man in the suit leans back to catch a ball, while the other man throws another ball. Both men raise their arms in celebration, having successfully juggled the balls.
All right, that's good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I hope you're clapping not just for Seeing AI, but also for my juggling skills, and Udi's, and 𝗦𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗻ₛ's filming skills. All right. Anyway, so that's how that works. This is in the Seeing AI app. You can download this now. It actually does much more than just that. So in many cases, we use AI for accessibility, but this is using content understanding to process the video and emit these descriptions that it's piping in the way that you just saw. Now, one company that I've been working with lately who uses a lot of AI for accessibility is WPP. It's a global media conglomerate called WPP. And we have here someone from one of the subsidiaries of WPP, which also has a 3-letter acronym by the name of SJR. I'd like to welcome the CEO of SJR, Selena Cameron.
Thank you so much for having me. At SJR, which is a content marketing agency, you may be wondering whether we're at the right conference. I assure you in a few minutes you'll understand why. We've been building a solution with our partners, 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗻𝗀, which is an AI research lab that leverages content understanding, and I'm looking forward to giving you a quick overview of it today. As Marco said, WPP, 𝗦𝗽𝗀𝗀𝗻𝗀 and SJR are both part of WPP. WPP is one of the largest providers of advertising and marketing services in the world. And you can imagine that for our clients, their website experience is critical, not just to their marketing success, but also to the success of their business. More than 60% of brand engagement is online, after all. And yet, many websites are kind of stuck where we found them 20 years ago. For all of the advances in technology and the talk of personalization and dynamic content, website content is largely static. It's certainly one size fits all, and it's difficult to consume. If you just think of your own company's website, product information, company information is buried inside kind of tens of thousands of pages, different pages, deep inside kind of PDFs and videos and graphics and images. And the bigger problem, I think, is that these sites, these static sites, don't really reflect our new relationship with information. When LLMs launched 2 years ago, they really pushed us overnight from being comfortable searching for information, browsing through links, to this new era of expecting personalized answers instantly. And it kind of follows that bounce rate on websites. The average is somewhere around 60%. And so as a result, we've seen this dramatic decline in online customer experience satisfaction, really to the lowest point on record. And that's become a huge business issue for our customers who need their websites, like most, to drive conversion. And so we have been building an AI-powered solution to vault our clients past these pain points. And content understanding is helping us to deliver on that vision. Our solution is called Generative Experience Manager, GXM for short. And content understanding has really given it a gift. The ability to extract data from any kind of media on a website and turn that into structured and searchable knowledge. And hopefully we can just take a quick look.
Imagine visiting a website with a question. Rather than browsing through pages or searching links, you can have an intelligent, interactive, personalized conversation with the site. Azure AI Content Understanding is helping SJR gather and understand the data to deliver an entirely new web experience. Meet Generative Experience Manager, GXM, unlocking a website's information, then surfacing and presenting it to visitors through conversation and dynamic content. Content Understanding's transcription, chaptering, and text extraction are enabling GXM, analyzing, processing, and digesting vast quantities of data, then extracting metadata for our RAG, ensuring the most relevant, valuable information is incorporated into the content on the fly. With Content Understanding, we can now do this with images, audio, and video. And it's more than just creating descriptions. Content Understanding extracts and surfaces the custom metadata of the multimedia content itself. Content Understanding is a game changer for us. By blending multimodal content into conversation and brand intelligence, we're changing the internet, helping companies share their information and insights more easily, quickly, and seamlessly.
So I hope you can see that combining these content types dynamically for the first time completely changes the quality of the output, or our output, what we're able to offer our clients. And with all of that kind of web information unlocked, we can then use our AI to serve up exactly the right snippet of content at exactly the right time in the exact right conversation to the right person. So we're just kind of vaulting into the future of personalized content. We then underpin this atomic content with our AI to drive visitors to a conversion point, right? Creating that business impact that our clients are looking for. And we like to think of it as being able to embed a company's most knowledgeable salesperson right inside that website. So Content Understanding has really been a game changer for Generative Experience Manager. We feel like it's helping us drag websites from where they are today right into the future. It's certainly helping companies share their information more seamlessly and quickly through this really interesting blend of content and conversation. Thanks so much for your time, and I will pass it back to Vinod.
Thank you, Selena. All right, so thank you, Selena. That was amazing. It's always great to see all the amazing stuff that you're able to build with the cool toys or technology that we build together. I am actually going to come back to a couple of things as we talk through this. When Marco was giving you his demo of all the, both the Seeing AI video understanding capabilities, as well as sort of the overall workflow of what you can build with Content Understanding. We sort of went through a few different vignettes, and I just want to sort of recapture some of those thoughts, right? So first is, as you think about audio as a modality of ingestion, you went through the process of like extracting audio, going through the transcription process, which is content extraction, defining the schema, and extracting those values that you needed. We also saw what the similar experience is for video. And I wanted to sort of like take this to the next stage and talk a little bit about what a mixed modality experience might look like, right? One of the most common challenges we see a lot of today is, for example, documents that look like this, right? Where you have content that is in the document but contained in charts and graphs or images embedded within the document. Now, as you think about a process like this, you want to sort of like, going back to this slide, what we're going to do in the next few minutes is really envision what a process might look like, where you take the content of the document, run that through the content extraction phase, and the content extraction phase understands that there's images or charts and graphs embedded within it, figures, and it extracts those figures. We're going to take that content and then take each of those figures, run them through a schema extraction process within Content Understanding, extract essentially a schema that allows us to interpret what the content is within each of those images, and then further bring all that content back into a RAG scenario. So let's take a look at a demo that kind of walks us through that experience end to end. And like Marco just mentioned, I do need to log back in. So what I'll show you is a couple of different things, right? So maybe first, let's start with really quick. There's an entire notebook that shows you how to work through this. This is going to be a code sample that's going to be available for you to use. I'll share the link towards the end of the slide, so it's just going to be there in the content that you can look at. I think what I was told is that it's probably not going to be available for you to actually look at until probably the end of the week. So just fair warning that the link might not work until the end of the week. But essentially, it goes through a workflow where you're defining a custom analyzer for each of those images. You're extracting those images, and then you're finally merging those results back into the document itself. But let's take a look at what that experience looks like from a chat interface perspective, right? So essentially, what we've done here is taken this output, put it into a search index, gone through the typical RAG workflow of chunking and embedding the content, adding it into an Azure Search Index, and now let's work with the document, right? So in this particular example, the document I'm working with is a IMF country report, right? So it's a country report that contains a lot of information about like economic indicators for different countries, right? So I'll ask the first question, and the first question is, what are the demands for goods and services, and what was that during the pandemic, right? You can see the answer I get back. It's got a citation in here. I can go take a look at this, and you'll see that it's within the document again. It's down here. The information is, like it's typically what you would expect from a RAG system, that it's able to understand where the content is and what the relevant chunks are, produce the response. Interesting enough, right? So the next one, let's take a look at the next scenario. And in this one, this is a little bit more interesting, where we're going to ask the question about the percentage of return on equity. And this time, when we look at the answers, we're going to, again, look at the citations. And you'll see that the return on equity is essentially part of a table. And it's able to interpret the fact that this information is contained within a table. And as a result, it's able to say that the 2021 rate of 12.25% was actually the highest return on equity, right? So again, taking the ability of content understanding to work with not just text, but text that contains tables as well as figures, right? So now let's take the more nuanced example, and this time we'll ask a question about crude oil production, and we'll ask this question in the context of the document again, and say, what was the crude oil production 2019, right? And here, this is going to be a little bit more interesting, because now we can see that there's actually nowhere in the document that there is any references to what the crude oil production was in any particular year. What we do have, though, is these charts down here, where one of them indicates a line graph that says this was the production of crude oil in each particular year. And you can see that when you look at the 2019 year, you'll see that it approximately equals this 11 million barrels of crude oil, right? And so we're able to not just interpret content, that is the text contained within the document, but we're now able to take each of the figures that is contained within these documents, run them through a content understanding workflow, put that content back together again, and use that as a new representation that goes into your search index, and you can run this through a much more complicated process, or much more robust process that now enables you to answer more complex and more insightful questions on your data. So I hope this was a good sort of preview of what you can do with content understanding. Content understanding has a variety of different ways that you can use it. Like, the flexibility of the system allows you to define your own task-specific schema. You can extract the content or the insights, or both, and you can use those in your downstream applications, whether those be agentic workflows, whether that's a Copilot, or any automation system that you're building. You can just seamlessly integrate content understanding into any of these workflows with minimal effort, because it's a simple API that you're essentially integrating into. So with that, I wanted to share with you a couple of different links. First is obviously the link to the AI Foundry experience. You can get started with content understanding in the AI Foundry today. It's available as a public preview. You can go ahead and try it out, share your feedback. We'd love to hear from you in terms of what you're seeing and how you would like to use more of content understanding. There's also obviously the docs experience. You can go learn more about content understanding through the docs. I did mention that the samples, that's the link to the samples. It's probably not public yet, but it will be public by the end of this week. So that's sort of the overall sort of experience you get with content understanding today. Thank you. I did want to make one final call out, which is document intelligence is also another capability that we've been working on within our teams. And document intelligence is, we've been working on a variety of different updates over the last year. Each of these updates is sort of like queued up to finally go GA. And some of these, the GA announcement is probably coming up in the next week or two. We are going to make Document Intelligence 4.0 API available in the next 2 weeks. Similarly, we're also working on a few different updates for face and liveness. and those are as well going to be GA somewhere towards the middle of December as well. So those two updates essentially are ways that you can sort of continue to use existing capabilities with documents or face and liveness, but those are enhanced and a new GA API is available. So with that, I want to say thank you. I want to really appreciate you for all the time and patience. We hope that you had a good time, and you hope you're having a good time at Ignite. And looking forward to what your feedback is, as well as what you're going to build with Content Understanding.